The most powerful moment in Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 9. Episode 9 brought a resolution to the arcs in the Better Call Saul timeline for some of the characters in the show that we've watched over the past few years, and we got to see exactly why Kim wasn't with Jimmy in the future. There were multiple moments that stood out for being extremely powerful in this poignant episode that lowered the tone and pace following two extremely lively ones. But I thought I'd explain what I thought the most powerful moment in the episode was. So let's get into it. Here is the most powerful moment in Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 9. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Episode 9 of the show saw us draw a close to the Better Call Saul timeline of 2004, and move on to a later point in time where the Breaking Bad timeline was soon to ignite. This episode was split into thirds, with the first third going to Gus, the second to Mike, and the third to Jimmy and Kim, and it felt like it was the best way to handle the closing of the arcs. With an episode like this, it comes with powerful moments. For example, a moment that was close to taking the crown was when Gus arrived at his house after meeting with the cartel by the pool, where he was questioned over Lalo's disappearance. Throughout Season 6 of the show, we witnessed Gus being a paranoid individual that was always looking over his shoulder, was aware of everything that was going on around him, had his security on high alert, and had the fear of Lalo Salamanca coming back and killing him. In episode 8 of the show, we saw Gus take him out. However, the radio silence from Lalo led Hector to become suspicious, which is where we picked up from in this episode. We saw Gus being questioned by Don Eladio, as he claimed that Hector was stating that Gus was plotting against them, and that Lalo was still alive and was planning on taking Gus out. However, Gus managed to convincingly shrug it off and without much of an argument get Don Eladio to believe him. One thing in this scene that I loved was the flames in Gus's eyes as he shrugged it off, as on the outside he was claiming how ridiculous it was, but the flames on the eyes symbolized what was inside of his head. Due to them believing Gus and Lalo's original death being so convincing, this allowed Gus to walk away free, and for the immediate threat to be off of his chest. We saw this expressed by when he walked into his house, smiled, went into all of the rooms and opened up the blinds and looked out of the windows, letting light beam in and showing off a slight smile as he gazed at all that was outside. He'd been hiding for the most part of the season, and was avoiding being seen, so the opening of the blinds and letting in the light really marked the very idea of him being free, and not being boxed in anymore. This was also further supported by when he went to the bar and was chatting with David, where they noticed that he hadn't been there for a while but he now was. It was a moment that had me pleased with the character, and it showed a drastic change in the mood and mindset that we'd seen throughout the whole of Season 6. He could now somewhat enjoy his freedom. Another moment that was close to taking the spot was the final scene in the entirety of the episode, where we saw Jimmy rush back to Kim after finding out that she'd resigned from being a lawyer and that she was leaving him. We saw some of the best acting that we've ever seen from the pair in the show in this scene. The emotion, heartbreak, yet wealth of love that they still had for each other was present on screen, and knowing that Kim was leaving Jimmy because she believed that they were toxic together was something that was hard to watch. They still loved each other, but it was the people that they'd become when they were together which was damaging for the both of them. And even though we saw that Jimmy knew this by the looks that he'd given her over the course of the season, he just didn't want to believe it. It's what ultimately drew a close to the story of Jimmy and Kim together, and answered the question of how and why Kim and Jimmy weren't together post Better Call Saul. However, the moment that I believe is the most powerful moment in the entirety of the episode was a scene where no words were spoken and actions quite literally spoke louder than any words that could have been exclaimed. It followed shortly after the scene where we saw Jimmy and Kim at Howard Hamlins' memorial that was taking place at the office. We saw just how deep into the situation Jimmy and Kim were, and that they were fully embedded in the lies that they had to tell to keep themselves out of the firing line of accusations. Although Cheryl was already doing so, we saw Jimmy defend himself in a way that was convincing, but not convincing enough, which was when we then saw Kim step in and fabricate a story about Howard, and then twist it on its head and was passive-aggressive towards Cheryl, stating how she would have known if something was up with Howard, almost making her feel guilty. A side to Kim that we don't often see but we know she has tucked away, a side that I feel even she doesn't really like to use, but she knows she can get it out from time to time. After this is where I feel the most powerful moment occurred. We saw both Jimmy and Kim walk down to the parking lot where Kim didn't utter a single word towards Jimmy. He stated how it was tough and that the healing could now begin, but all she did was stare deeply into his eyes, lean in, give him a kiss, and then walk to the car and drive off without saying a thing to him. This was almost like her goodbye, and the moment where she came to terms with what she needed to do. The blank expression almost started when Cliffmain walked off in the room, and it carried through to when she was in the parking lot. You could sense that everything that she stated in the conversation that happened in her apartment at the end with Jimmy was going through her head in those moments of silence, and that she was feeling the effects of her and Jimmy's actions, far more than what Jimmy was. The fact that it followed on from what they said to Cheryl about Howard, even ruining his reputation beyond the grave, acted like one final dance. And then a moment of silence in the parking lot where it acted as a goodbye was something that was quite beautiful, yet sad to watch. We know how much Jimmy loved Kim and wanted them to be together and get through all of the events that happened. But this moment cemented the act of their departure and the realization that Kim couldn't do this every day of her life. Being a lawyer, acting uprightly and according to the law was something that she'd broken that she stated when she was sworn in. And the idea of living this life with Jimmy where people get damaged by their actions was something she could do no more of. And this moment of the parking lot was the end of their journey together, and what I would consider the most powerful moment in this episode. Episode 9 was again one of the best of the season, and they keep matching it every week. This one brought the mood down and slowed the pace to where it felt natural, and we actually got to see the repercussions of all of their actions. It closed off the timeline in a way that felt natural, and we got to say goodbye to one of the characters that we've grown to form a connection with over the past few years, with a closing third that was emotional, sentimental, and extremely powerful. So, there you have it, the most powerful moment in Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 9. If you want to see more videos on Better Call Saul such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can go over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you want to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What was your most powerful moment? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.